Yeah, thank you.
I'll be back in 60 days.
Thank you.
We've got some deals being made. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. That's right. Today we've got Donald Trump making deals. That's right. Carney didn't get any deals. No, Carney's coming back empty-handed from Asia. He's met with over a dozen leaders from all these ASEAN nations, Donald Trump, Australia, South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Laos, and he's got no deals. Meanwhile, Donald Trump inking big deals. And what does Canada get? Increased tariffs on peas being sold out of Saskatchewan. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got a bunch of news here. This one, CPP Investments head says fund will consider Carney's nation-building projects if Ottawa gets the formula right. Goes on to say here, the head of the CPP Investments is signaling the $730 billion Canadian pension plan fund is keen to invest in nation-building infrastructure and energy projects promised by Prime Minister Mark Carney's government if the projects offer scale, stability, predictability, and transparency. Yeah, transparency you're not going to get from Mark Carney. We all know that Mark Carney and all these guys at Brookfield love this pension fund money. It's a lot of money. They take a commission cut off of this. It's big money for these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if this happens. Next up, we got Tiff Macklin here cutting the interest rate 0.25%.
What that means is that unless something else changes, our incomes will be lower than they otherwise would have been. They'll grow, but they'll grow along a lower, this was the old path. Now there's a new path.
So he's talking about how bad Canada's earning is now. Cutting that interest rate right now is just a band-aid. It's not going to save us. Listen to this. This guy directly compares British Columbia to Washington State, apples to apples. It's not a pretty sight.
When you think about per capita, think about standard of living of yourself or the average individual in Canada. It used to be equal with the United States. Today, after the last 10 years, Canada's per capita GDP is between 28th and 33rd in the world, from third in the world. And the amount of money that we make vis-a-vis an American is just $56,000 in US dollars versus $89,000 for the average person in the US as a whole. If you look at Ontario, which is one of Canada's richest province, it is a GDP equal to the poorest state now in the United States, which is Mississippi. But a starker contrast, and this one sort of hit home in looking at this a few months ago. British Columbia's per capita GDP is just $56,000. Just cross the border into Washington State, and the per capita GDP there is double that of BC at $108,000. Yet, if you can believe it, and this is the kicker, the top marginal personal income tax rate in Washington State is just 37%. And in BC, it's 53%. So we make
53%, as he says here. So we make half as much money as they do.
Half as much money as they do. And we're taxed 30% more.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. 20% more tax, but half the amount of money, but getting 20% additional tax. 33 to 53. I think that's what he said. 37 to 53. It's outrageous how bad our leaders are. Got David Coletto with this one. He says 1 in 5 Canadians didn't know Mark Carney had his big State of the Address or whatever it was called. That's an American term, but Carney addressed Canada back on October 22nd. As we see here, only 20% of Canadians knew this even happened. This is the problem. 80% of Canadians don't know what's going on, and while 80% of those Canadians shouldn't have watched that speech anyways, there was nothing in it, they're also not aware of all his conflicts of interest. We've got a bunch of updates. We've got this one here, dug up by M. Brandt, posted by HOC staffer. Mark Carney's constituency office, the one that he shut down. He stole Chandra Arya's seat. Then he shut down Chandra Arya's constituency office. He doesn't have his own constituency office, but it turns out he's still paying for Chandra Arya's constituency office. So M. Brandt posting the details here. You can see Kalebrook Corporation, $6,400. There it is, Kalebrook Corporation, office rental related fees. They're still paying for it. They're just not using it because Mark Carney doesn't care about Canadians. No point there having anyone to deal with any of the problems that come in to the area of Nepean. And poor Chandra Arya has gone into hiding, locked down his account. We should check to see who the property owner is, yeah. Moving ahead, we've got India imposing 30% tariffs on Canadian peas. Now, what India is doing here is trying to shore up their own production in India because so many yellow peas are consumed in India. So they're putting 30% tariffs on everyone. There's a way to get a deal to get rid of these tariffs.
Just learned that India has placed 30% tariff on Canadian peas. This is on top of the 100% tariffs already in place from China. As a result, 80% of Canada's pea markets now face tariffs worldwide. This is putting Canadian farmers at risk as prices have dropped more than 40%. The Prime Minister and his team was just in India, and now they're in China. Every time they go somewhere, it gets worse.
That's right.
What is this government going to do to ensure that our farmers get the tariff relief they need to ensure that they can stay in business?
Right on.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, our government and our Prime Minister have been working hard to ensure that Canadian farmers have access to markets around the world. Part of the work that they've been doing is exactly that, cutting deals with more and more countries to ensure that Canadian products, Canadian farmers.
He hasn't cut any deals. There's no deals. You can't say that. What Carney should be doing is cutting a deal with India for textiles. Anything else India wants to ship to Canada, make it easier for them and give them exactly what they want. They want energy. They want LNG. They want uranium. They want critical minerals. Put them at the top of the list for those three things. Build a new export terminal. Dedicate it to India. Give them priority on it. Sign them up for a big deal. Get rid of these tariffs. That's a win-win. We'd sell them more product in all that stuff. Uranium, LNG, other critical minerals, as well as more peas. They need energy. They're trying to shore up their own food production. This would be a win for both of us, but it'd actually be an extreme win for Canada. Instead, what's Mark Carney doing? He's gallivanting around with him and his wife on the big gas guzzling jet, signing no deals, doing nothing unless it enriches his own shares. Did India ever actually import peas from Canada to begin with? Yeah, they've got 1.6 billion people, and whenever they have problems with their harvests, they have to, and they import a lot. Scott Moe giving his 2 cents on this. Very concerning to hear about the new tariffs imposed on yellow peas by India. Our government took immediate action, asking the federal government to act swiftly to ensure the removal of these tariffs. Obviously, that's not going to happen because Mark Carney doesn't get any deals. As he mentioning here, $480 million of pea exports are being shipped to India in 2024. And now with new tariffs, that number is going to drop. We also have this update here. So HOC staff are posting this. This is a good read, talking about Fred Delurie's article here on that he thinks there will for sure be an election. He's saying speculation on the Hill from what he's heard is that many or all NDP MPs will abstain and do their best to spin it as the opposition to the budget, yet saving costs for Canadians of an election. The bold strategy, very interesting. If all the NDP abstain, it's essentially the same as if there was the blue flu for the Conservatives. With that said, CPC has cash and is ready to roll. Yeah, I mean, the Conservatives can have an election, not like they're broke. But as he points out, Pierre gets a second shot. If Pierre loses this second election, he has his leadership review immediately afterwards, and basically he's done. He won't be able to get a third shot. So I don't think the Conservatives want to go to an election right now, nor should they. I think it'd be better to wait a little bit, have a proper run at this, and get Pierre in the office afterwards. Moving ahead, we've got Donald Trump meeting with Xi Jinping. There's this awkward moment.
Hello, everyone.
Mr. President, the President of the People's Republic of China.
I don't know what this is, if just Trump got there early or Xi was making him wait there to show that he's in the power position. A little bit funny of a interaction here.
Good to meet you. It's a great pleasure to see you again. Good to see you again.
Pooh Bear is always so awkward.
Me too. And we're going to have a very successful meeting, I have no doubt. But he's a very tough negotiator. That's not good. We know each other well.
That's a weird thing to say. It's almost like Trump's a little nervous.
Mr. President, do you plan to sign a trade deal today?
Could be. I think we'll have a great understanding. We have a great relationship. We've always had a great relationship.
Please start buying U.S. soybeans again?
Okay, so they do their little photo op. What came from this? Okay, so Donald Trump and Xi Jinping signed this deal. Trump is reducing his tariffs on China by 10%, his street fennel tariffs from, I believe it was 20% down to 10% now, and the overall tariffs on China reduced from 57 to 47. China to discuss chip restrictions with NVIDIA. No more obstacles on rare earths, so they'll let rare earths flow to America for, I believe, 1 year, and China and the US to collaborate on Ukraine. So not a crazy deal, but definitely a deal being done there. I hold the cards. The cards are made in China. And we have this audio that came from this.
I've agreed, as you know, I put a 20% tariff on China because of the all coming in, which is it's a big tariff. And based on his statements today, I reduced it by 10%. So it's 10% instead of 20%, effective immediately. I believe he's going to work very hard to stop the death that's coming in.
And here's Trump leaving. There was no press conference. Initially, people speculating that there was no deal done, but they did this deal. It's not a huge deal, but it's something. And that means no deal with Canada. Trump likely didn't even talk to Carney all that much, aside from calling him out at the dinner table. Moving ahead, we've got this. Head of RCMP's advisory board resigns, citing frustrations with the federal government. You can't make this stuff up. The media has been attacking Pierre Poilievre over RCMP comments, and now you have RCMP's advisory board resigning. And with that, we're seeing polling numbers here, and who's getting hammered in the polls on popularity? It's Pierre Poilievre, of course, because the media keeps running this slanderous garbage. So you'll see his unpopularity numbers here have spiked because, well, when you're spending $1 million a day, I calculated that just on CBC for their political division, add in all these other media companies. I mean, how many millions of dollars a day are they spending to slander Pierre Poilievre? One offhanded comment on a podcast and his popularity and image of the guy goes down. It's wild. Other question is, who are they polling? Are they polling people in Toronto or are they polling people in Alberta? Jumping ahead here, we've got Marty up north posting this one. Liberals urge to cut old age security spending in upcoming budget. The seniors voted for Mark Carney and now he's going to repay them with cutting their funding. Is that what's happening here? Kershaw said that OAS has drifted too far from its original aim of protecting insecure retirees to padding the comfort of affluence. What's happening here is a bunch of very wealthy seniors have found a way to take advantage of the system, have almost no clawbacks, get the full amount of OAS, and Canadian taxpayers pay the bill. We have multimillionaires essentially milking the government for money. They knew the system was working as it was. They voted in Carney thinking he was going to protect it. Not so sure anymore. As Marty up north says here, translation, they're setting the stage to chip away at benefits for seniors, elbows up. And knowing the Carney Liberals, they would make cuts and make sure it hurts the middle and lower class Canadians and somehow work it so the upper class, rich Laurentian elites can still milk the system. We could cut the Liberals from government and save generations from abject poverty at the hands of affluent asparagus lovers. We'll attack asparagus. Asparagus is good. Expensive, but good. Jumping over to South Korea now, we've got Mark Carney and his media team here going to check out the big, expensive submarines they're looking to buy. Look at this warehouse district here where they build this stuff. It's incredible. So these multi-billion-dollar, I believe they're $2 billion submarines we're looking at buying from South Korea. It takes them an entire year to build one. We're looking at buying 12 of them. I don't know why we're looking at buying these right now. We've got much bigger problems than needing submarines, in my personal opinion. I don't even think we should be buying F-35s. I think we should invest in drones. Drones that don't need anyone in there, unmanned drones, because we could use those to patrol the borders. We could use them in combat. They're multi-versatile, and they don't need anyone to operate them aside from someone on the ground. You don't need a fighter pilot that's highly trained to use them. This old style military spending, we don't have money for it right now. And here's Mark Carney going on the submarine. So $2 billion submarine here. Apparently this thing has 3 floors. Here's a different angle of him getting in, but just listen to what he says here.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be back in 60 days. Thank you.
I'll be back in 60 days. Okay. As this person says, do we really need submarines? Why don't we go with Germany if we do? I like there's compact ATK subs. Honestly, I don't think we need subs. Our new coastal defense warships have anti-sub warfare systems. Yeah, we don't have money for this. $2 billion for a submarine. We have nurses and contractors sleeping in their cars in our streets. This is not a priority right now. Moving ahead, this is quite the story here. Dan Mazier posting this. Liberals are approving training for thousands of foreign-sponsored doctors in Canadian hospitals who will never work in Canada. This story is as dumb as it sounds.
Federal Immigration Department approving permits that allow foreign doctors to train in Canada through the visa trainee program.
Yes, without the LMIA process. So no analysis is the impact on Canadians. They are allowing it despite our objections, despite our application. They are ignoring our application to insist on finding out what the impact on Canadians is.
Once these visa trainees complete their medical training in Canada, do they stay to practice here, or are they required to return to their home countries to practice?
Under their contracts with their sponsor, they're required to return to their home country. And most of them do. Some of them ignore their contract and stay.
That is quite something. So we're training doctors and most of them go back to their countries to be doctors there and not here. This is the dumbest thing I've seen in a long time. Absolutely abhorrent. Defund universities that do not prioritize Canadian students. Yes. It doesn't matter where you go. There's angry comments everywhere. Doesn't matter any one of these topics we pick. That's how bad things are. We've got this story here. This came out a few days ago. Thought I'd show it on the channel. So the Terrebonne rioting in Quebec has finally come back, and a Liberal appointed judge decided that since there was no fraudulent intent, it was a mistake that the Elections Canada officer accidentally put the wrong label on a couple dozen envelopes, return envelopes, mail-in ballots, that the vote should not count and that the Liberals keep the seat.
The Carney Liberals have a minority government in Ottawa right now. They are 3 seats shy of a majority, and so they've got to hold everyone of those seats that they've got. The Superior Court judge now has rejected a request for a new election in a Montreal area riding that was won by the Liberals during the federal election in April. But boy, this was a squeaker. The request was made by the Bloc Québécois. The Liberals won the riding by 1 vote. A voter saying that her special ballot had been returned to her because of an error on the envelope provided by Elections Canada. So she was crying foul. The Superior Court, though, denied the request, stating that such an error, which has to do with a address or postal code issue, does not constitute an irregularity under the election law, adding the error was committed without malicious or fraudulent intent.
Now, what's very suspicious, unjust, wrong, unethical about this situation is that there was a court challenge back in 2012 where votes were being challenged to not be counted, 20 or 30 of them, but the Supreme Court ruled that all votes should be counted with that ruling over a decade ago. That should be the standard going forward. Canada operates in case law. The Liberal appointed judge of Terrebonne, this whole situation, should have looked to that case, essentially should have ruled in the same way where all votes matter. That's what that court case said back in 2012. All votes matter. Basically, this is a Liberal appointed judge who wanted to decide the fate of that election themselves in an unjust manner. Or as Alan says here, basically the judge is denying a citizen's vote from being counted. Yeah.